Hello everyone and welcome back to another AFK Journey video. In this video we're going to be making an updated Celestial Hypogean priority tier list now that Lamentis has been out for a while, and I do believe we are placing him in the right position. We're going to be talking about exactly the positioning we have here. We're going to lead it off with the Dream Realm, which is the most important category to the majority of players, and the first hero is still the same, which is the Twins. Since their release until now, Twins have dominated Dream Realm and they continue to do so. There is just one thing which could be, you could be a bit skeptical about, is that King Roland is coming out. Another Celestial support. Now, will the Twins be power crept out of Dream Realm or not? No one really knows. But for right now, Twins are solid, the number one Celestial Hypogean to be building for a Dream Realm focus. After that, Contest has really risen up the ranks. She is definitely the second most important Dream Realm hero to build on your account due to her usage for both Endless and Pre-Endless Dream Realm, as you guys are noticing. She's a really staple hero, one of the most important Celestial Hypogeans for everyone to build in recent times. And Contest, so Contest is very, very important and likely is going to survive for a long time due to she's the only hero that has an HP loss amplifying debuff for Dream Realm. Gunner as well is very important, as you guys are seeing, for pre-endless Dream Realm. A lot of bosses are using Gunner in the top team, and so it really is important to build Gunner on your account. Apart from all of that, he's also really good for AFK stages and can even work in PvP. Contest is kind of the same, but Gunner has an even bigger angle for AFK stages. But for Dream Realm as well specifically, he is the third biggest priority, I can safely say, after you're done with Twins and Contest, due to his pre-endless Dream Realm usage. For Endless, he's not going to have as much usage, and fairly quickly he is going to be replaced. However, for pre-endless, he is very meta. Now, talking about pre-endless heroes, we also have Rainier. Rainier is a hero who functions even at Mythic Plus, and he's very good for pre-endless Dream Realm, but he completely falls off for endless Dream Realm. So do keep that in mind with Rainier. Also, Rainier is a hero. He was here on global launch. He's the oldest Celestial Hypogean that is still remaining meta to an extent, and he has been phased out over time. He is not as meta as he once was, but he still has usage for Dream Realm, and so for that reason, like, he's still kind of a staple to have on your account, but he is much less important now than in the past. And with new releases, it could potentially completely basically put Rainier in a coffin and have no need to be building him. But for right now, he still has that usage for pre-endless Dream Realm. Now we have Lamentis. Lamentis I've put right after Rainier because Lamentis right now is only good for pre-endless Dream Realm. For endless Dream Realm, maybe he's going to be good for Doom Scourge. In other bosses, it is unlikely because he has no HP loss damage. However, that is actually good enough to actually still have be a priority to be building. Along with Aurora, I put him right next to Aurora because both of these are summoning related damage dealers, and Aurora is actually a summoning buffer, and so together they're going to be used together. Like, if you're seeing Lamentis in any team up until now, they're used side by side with Aurora. There's no sense in using Lamentis without Aurora, and it's kind of like vice versa as well. So for pre-endless Dream Realm, Aurora and Lamentis probably will be in multiple Dream Realm bosses. For endless Dream Realm, probably only Doom Scourge or bosses which really cater to summoners, but who knows, like, in the future with new bosses being added or even new summoners being added, could these heroes rise up even further, even higher than they currently are? It's possible. And so that's why I would say that Lamentis and Aurora are going to be better investments than, for example, the ones I put right at the end, which are Alicent and Baelon. Now, you might be very shocked with the placement of Alicent and Baelon. This is a bit of a bold prediction, which is that I believe these two heroes, even though they're going to have endless Dream Realm usage because they are good, they're basically endless damage dealers. The thing is that we have now Frieren and Galahad, who are basically the two best HP loss damagers in the game. Then we have Twins and Contest, who are the two best supports for that team in the game. And there's only really one slot available, which sometimes needs to be flexed depending on the boss for different heroes. And there are a lot. And also, as time goes on, we're gonna have King Roland coming out. And if both Twins and King Roland are used together in the same Dream Realm boss team, which is a definite possibility, along with Contest and Galahad and Frieren, or Galahad and Gwyneth, then basically you have no room in the team anymore for these other HP loss damage dealers to be added on top. So, due to the limitation of spaces on a Dream Realm team, and the fact that Alice and Baelorn are one of the oldest Celestial Hypogeans that are still in the Dream Realm meta, I feel like they are on the chopping block to potentially be replaced as soon as one other meta HP loss damage dealer comes out, or one, yeah, basically that. And so, even though they're gonna have usage, and these heroes are not bad if you have them built, I would say if you're a newer player, you don't have these heroes built yet, I would be looking more towards the left side of this list and maybe saving for future heroes rather than building Alicent and Baelorn from scratch now, because I do think their days are numbered, and they're probably going to end up similar to Forester and Harok, who are now in the skip tier. But currently, Alicent and Baelorn are not in the skip tier, but they're like, I would say, probably most risky to be building up right now. But we'll see in phase 2 of Endless how much Alicent is being used, but I think it will not be nearly as much as in the previous season, because we had no free reign at that time. Now we have free reign, and you know, even other heroes, yeah, and contests, you know, both are going to be super meta. Okay, so that's what we have for Dream Realm. Moving on to AFK Stages, we have Saida, who's still the queen of AFK Stages. She is the single most important hero to be building for AFK Stages. Also, she's very good in PvP. So she's a very solid hero to build when you have the luxury and you're not focusing on Dream Realm anymore. Ulna as well, really key. She's not a king, she's a queen. Really key for AFK Stages because her protection, her invincibility, and also she is the best hero in PvP, the best single hero in PvP in the game right now, because of that invincibility she provides to her chosen ally and herself. And for AFK Stages, it's really insane combo. Saida and Ulna, these are the two heroes you see in almost all of the high deficit AFK stage records. You have Mihira as well, who can function at low copies, and Kulu can also function. Both of these heroes, Mihira and Kulu, can function at low copies for AFK stages, but when you want the maximum value out of them, you will want to get them to Supreme Plus. And both of these heroes can be kind of like utility options in PvP for your team, kind of like boosting your team, but not necessarily the carry or the game winning, you know, utility for your team. Just more like, you know, some added utility you can sprinkle on top of your team comp. So that is basically the role. They're very similar. Mihira and Kulu, I really consider both very similar in their different usages across the different game modes. However, Mihira is really good for a Ravage Run because she's an HP loss damage dealer, and just like Baelran is good for Dauntless Squad, Mihira is really good for Wilder Sylvan Squad, and there's actually no other HP loss damage dealer who can come close for the Wilders. So Mihira is just dominating Ravage Run. And if we want to talk a bit about Ravage Run, Lamentis is very unlikely to be in Ravage Run in a top team or by very big score gap, because he doesn't have HP loss damage. Ravage Run heroes are all about HP loss. That is how you maximize your score, because it is a mega endless like difficulty of boss at level 1200 resonating level of your heroes. That's mega endless, and so Mihira does shine for that. And she may have some Dream Realm usage, but more likely probably not, because even in the previous season she hardly had much usage in Dream Realm, because they're just better HP loss damage deals out there, or better, you know, heroes to be throwing into the team. Okay, moving on to PvP, we have Sylphira. Now Sylphira also functions in AFK stages, and for the top, basically a high deficit stage pushing, you need to have Sylphira. Sylphira is almost as important as Saida. However, I still did put Sylphira in the PvP category because she is more specialized as a PvP hyper carry, but she has massive AFK stage value as well. For Dream Realm, hardly any use. Snow Stomper, and she's even been power equipped by Lamentis by a big gap. So she's mainly PvP AFK stages, but really good at both. She is one of the best PvP hyper carries in the game right now, because she can silence enemies and deal massive damage. The silence is super game changing. However, she needs protection in PvP. Of course, you need to run her with Ulna. If you don't run Sylphira with Ulna, then good luck to you, and you're a braver man than I, because it's basically Sylphira's going to end up dead. Okay, so that's Sylphira. Dunlinger is a hero which is very still good for PvP, and he's been out for a while. He's one of those utility heroes. Blocking enemy ultimates can be a game-changing actual utility for your team. And so Dunlinger has stood the test of time, and he probably will continue to remain meta for PvP for very long into the future due to that huge utility he has by blocking the enemy's ultimates, which is just great protection for some of the teams you want to run. And you can always fit him into pretty much any team to make it more strong, more powerful. Okay, the two PvP hyper carries we have here are Cry9 and Athalia. They still are usable and they're still good in PvP. However, they are not as good as a top tier hyper carries such as Sylphira, such as Frieren, Gwyneth, and even in my opinion Saida. However, you can make use of them definitely. They're still definitely runnable and they're still heroes that you can run in your top set of 5 top tier teams for Supreme League especially. And so that's why they still are definitely here. However, that being said, it's very likely that in coming seasons, these two heroes will not be usable anymore because they really are on the verge. They're on the chopping block, kind of like Alicent and Baelor and Dream Realm. It's Cry9 and Athalia in PvP. They're usable now, but just barely usable, or you're honestly just waiting for one better hyper carry to come out, and then you're gonna completely forget these two heroes even existed. But yeah, Cry9 ultimate base hyper carry, Athalia, Stroll. Damage over time team like with Zoria. Zoria really has made Athalia useful again. If Zoria did not exist, Athalia would be almost useless right now. Zoria is the one saving grace of Athalia right now by having a long drawn out fight, but even that is usually not enough for top tier teams to beat them. Okay, moving on to the skip tier. These are heroes which, Forester and Harak, these are the honorable mentions because they were at one time even somewhat meta for Dream Realm. They were like for just a few bosses very occasionally, but now they're really only Ravage Realm relics. They're good for Ravage Realm, Aurora Squad. However, just building heroes purely for Ravage Realm is probably the craziest thing to ever do. Is better for a new player to completely skip these heroes and just make use and make use of whatever you can for Ravage Realm, suffer a bit of a loss because these heroes, yeah, Ravage Realm hardly gives you much rewards. It's only once per season, and these two heroes are not going to really be useful anywhere else in the whole game. And so that's why they definitely, I have to call them the skip tier. Forester is a hero which sometimes you can use him in one copy for like Titan Reaver and things like that. And so one copy you get for free from the login event. So don't build beyond that, basically, is what I'm saying. The other heroes here, Taline. So Taline, Scarlita, Diurnal Burial. These are all basically, there's no game mode left for them. They're not ever used in Dream Realm. They're not ever used in AFK stages anymore. And they just then have PvP and they're not good in PvP. The only one I would ever consider running is actually Taline in PvP just for a power of renewal to give it to like a frontline tank like a gunner, for example. I did use that, but it's just not very good. But it does have, you know, some value if the hero is able to survive long enough to get the power of renewal and the resurrection, some bonus healing, and also like, you know, Taline's just annoying. She just keeps reviving and she can take debuffs from enemies and stuff. But yeah, I mean honestly, Taline is just not a hero to be building anymore. But if you have her built, you can try to make use of her. Scarlita, kind of the same. Scarlita honestly is just very problematic. The fact that you're fighting a 4v5 without much enough utility for the team in those initial 15 seconds, that puts you at a big disadvantage. And that's why you might want to think, oh, I want to run another Celestial Hypogean supporter in my team, so why not throw in Scarlita? But you're better off just not running Scarlita, running some other hero instead, basically. Because that force 4v5 is not good. Diurnal is a hyper carry who he's also fallen off. He's an ultimate based hyper carry, although he also has non-ultimate based damage. However, he's just not as good as Cry9, for example, and so you can never really warrant running him. Like Frieren, Gwyneth, who are just main regular faction heroes or dimensional heroes, they put Diurnal to shame. And this is really the problem, right? Gwyneth has taken Diurnal's non-ultimate based damage role and done it way better, and ultimate based damage, Frieren and even Cry9 have done it way better. And so this is a problem with Diurnal. He's just not worth using. And then finally we have Burial. Burial is the final hero here, which is completely useless. The most useless hero in the game. Like, I could even force myself to run any other Celestial Hypogean hero here in a PvP team. I would never run Burial. And the reason is just he does nothing. He literally does nothing the whole fight. Until some major change happens or something can enable him, Burial is basically completely useless. And so yeah, that is it, guys, for the updated priority tier list. Hopefully this is helpful and gives you a good explanation of all these heroes and the reasoning we put them into the different respective like priorities. Of course, if you have any opinions of your own, you can feel free to share them in the comment section. That is always interesting, and you may, this is my opinion, is subjective to an extent, but I do try to make it as objective as possible. So I'm open to hearing considering other opinions as well. And like I said, you may think it's a bit harsh to have Alicent Baelon right at the end, but it's mainly I'm being harsh because I want to make sure no one invests into these heroes now when they're really soon to potentially being power crept. I think really when it comes to Dream Realm, these are the two heroes which are the most at risk of losing their Dream Realm usage entirely. They're very similar to Fresser and Harok, what they once were, and so this is why I'm really cautious about investing into these heroes. And Baelon has some AFK stage use. However, if you have like Saida built, I basically never use Baelon because I have Saida. So that's just another thing. But anyway, guys, thank you for watching. That's gonna be it for this video. And if you're thinking about making a purchase in AFK Journey, please use my affiliate link for the official Farlight store. This is the best way you can support me and also gain 5% bonus dragon crystals on your purchase. My affiliate link is in the description of this video in a pinned comment, and you can actually bookmark this link in your browser, and whenever you're planning to make a purchase, just return to the bookmark link and make your purchase. It will support me and be greatly appreciated. So thanks for watching. I'll hopefully see you in the next video, and until then, everyone, peace out for now.